Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you a solution that can improve the data of your HubSpot CRM. If you ever had the issue that you had multiple companies without a company domain name, then this video might contain the solution that you need. What I'll show you is how you can use the Google Places API to search for additional information about a company using the company name and any information that we have available about the address. Now let's take a quick look at how that would work. What we see right here is my HubSpot CRM with a lot of data. We have multiple companies with a bit of address information available. We have a company called HubSpot, not sure what that is, and we have a city value available and a postal code value available. And next we have a company called Bright Digital where we have a city value available, also a street address and a postal code. Now what I did is I created a workflow using custom code actions. However, if you do have the time, you could also create a public app and create custom workflow actions to create the same functionality. In this workflow, we will use the trigger company name is known and company domain name is unknown. So we know that any of the companies that will be enrolled will not contain a domain name, but will have a company name. You might want to enhance this trigger by making sure that we also have a bit of address data available. But in this case, for the video, I'm going to use this specific trigger. Now, the first thing we have is a custom code action. And once again, this could also be a custom workflow action. Which contains a secret, and this secret is the API key that we need to make API calls to the Google Places API. Now, what we have as well is a bunch of properties that we will use in our API call. We have a company name, we have a city, we have a zip, and we have address available in this case. And in our code, we are using Axios to make an API call. We are including the values of these properties that we set above, and we will build a query based on the values that we have available. So we know that our company name is available, but I added a little statement to make sure that we only include the city if it has a value. And I'll show you the result of this query in a second. The next thing we do is we will use Axios to make an API call to the Google Places API using the text search endpoint. And we will include our query and the API key from the secret stored in this specific coded action. We are using a GET request and we might get a response. The structure of the response of the Google Places API is that we will get a response with a data object and an array of results, because we might get multiple results depending on the query that we used. We have a little if statement to make sure that we do have results available. And if we do have results available, we're going to pick the first result. You could improve this functionality by adding additional filters to make sure that you are picking the correct company. But in this case, we will go ahead with the first result available. We have a little log so I can view the results better in the test of our workflows. And then we will return the place ID of this specific result back to our variable called company ID. And if you scroll down, you will see that I'm using the company ID as an output for this specific coded action. So if I were to test this specific workflow and run the code, you'll see that I am using this specific query. So this is passed to the Google Places API as the query. We have name, city, postal code, and address. And then you'll see that I get a result which will contain a place ID. And the place ID is used in the output of this workflow. Now, if I test the same with our other company called HubSpot, then you'll see that we get an additional result with a different place ID. Now, with this workflow, we do not have the domain available yet. That's why we have a second coded action to retrieve additional information based on the Google Places ID that we retrieved from the first coded action. So let's take a look at this code. In this custom code action, I'm using the Google API key again. I'm including the output of the previous coded action, and I'm also using the company name to make my console logs a little bit more readable. I'm making sure that we have a company ID with a value, and if we do have a company ID available, I'm going to make a new API call to the Google Places API, but in this case I'm using the details endpoint and I'm passing it the ID I retrieved from the first workflow. Now I might need that value, so let me go back to the first coded action and make sure that we have a value available. And if you test a coded action, HubSpot added a real nice functionality that you can set the value you want to use for a outputted variable. So in this case, I'm going to use Bright Digital again, and I'm going to pass it the Google Company ID. And if I run this coded action, we will make the API key. And if we're lucky, we will get a website from the results. Let's see if it works. And there it is. So based on the Places ID that we retrieved from the first coded action, we made a second API call. And in this case, we got a company domain name from the results from the Google Places API. So this is really cool. Now we have a little functionality that is going to allow us to retrieve additional information from the Google Places API based on the company name and any information that we have from the address. Now in this case, we're using it to retrieve the company name, but the Google Places API has a lot of additional information that you might want to store in your CRM as well. If you want to learn more about CRM development or CMS development or any of the cool stuff that you can do in HubSpot, make sure to follow me or Bright Digital. Have a great day.